Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's space. I will actually be your host today. This is Heidi speaking on the Pixels account. Kermit is here as well as per usual from Unfungible, has been a huge part of help planning and scheduling these spaces. But today's space, it's really just close to my heart, community building secrets. When we were brainstorming topics, this is one that I was really passionate about. I was like, you know what? I want to talk to some of the creators, some of the community leaders that have made such an impact in the Pixels building process and community building and culture and all of it. Like, I want to bring them up and let's just talk about all of the adventures we've had together, the impacts of bringing our communities together, like what has that looked like, and just all of it. So we have got Rag Poet from Farmhands. Rag, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I hope everybody is having a great day.
Amazing. And then we've got or wait, who is it? Davey from Subway Rats joining
It's
us?
Davey. Hi, Heidi. How's it going?
It's Davey. How's it going? Oh, okay. Well, okay. I made a joke about this on Twitter, how I can never pronounce this correctly. So please tell us, how do we pronounce? Is Dininho?
Yeah, it's Juninho because it's in Portuguese. The N and H together, it does like a sound like nho. But Juninho, it's already basically official way to be called as well. We don't mind. We accept any kind of you guys can speak. It's fine for us. And by the way, that's Rex here and community manager of Juninho. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Amazing. Thanks for coming up. Yeah, you guys, I love the running around as like a little dino. So I'm so happy to be that you're here with us. And then we've got Dizzy Dragons, Rob from Dizzy Dragons. How's it going?
Hey, what's up? Thanks for having us. Yeah, no, super psyched. So just excited to be here.
All right. And then last but certainly not least, as I also joked about on Twitter, we have Hantal from Moku. How's it going?
I just get disrespected all the time by Heidi. She cyberbullies me. I have to turn off my monitor or else she just keeps going.
Oh man. Okay, yeah. And Hantal's kind of like the odd one out here, right? Because like you're kind of like newer to the community, which is why I wanted to bring you on, because I thought super interesting. Kind of like anyways, Kermit, what's up?
Dude, Hantao, is there anyone who doesn't cyberbully you? I thought this was our thing. I thought this was our special little thing. Now I find out even Heidi's cyberbullying.
Kermit, you've literally never cyberbullied me in your life. You've never hurt anybody before.
I guess I was talking mean to myself. And it makes me feel all the better.
Okay. All right. So I wanted to kick this off with some questions that I'm kind of going off script here. I just have some questions for you. All have made such an impact to the Pixels community specifically. So I wanted to talk to that a little bit before we dive into maybe like the things that make each of you individual. Like, let's talk about the interoperability of all of our projects and what we've built in our communities. So I have a big question I have. Let's start with maybe Subway Rats. How has being involved with the Pixels community impacted your community, for better or for worse? Like, let's hear it all.
For sure. Being a part of Pixels has been a big deal for us. It's grown our community quite a bit, a lot more than I thought it would. When we first joined, it was early-ish on in the Pixels journey, and the game looks so different now. There's so many more players than there was back then, and it's exciting. Looking at the interoperability, um, I think that is like the strength of blockchain for sure, because it allows us all to build together. We don't have to pull data from another service. We can pull it straight from the blockchain, and we can all build together using the blockchain, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's what's really unique about Web3, right? It's you are an owner of an avatar, you're a part of another project, a part of that project's journey, but you're also able to, have utility in other projects as well, which is kind of like what has happened all here. Like several of you guys have games in your own communities and everything, and they've just kind of gelled together perfectly. So yeah, subway rats to me is like the party community. Like they're just like, I mostly because I have a party hat one. um and actually, speaking of, I thought it would be so perfect to have a Subway Rats hosted energy party on Friday this week. So that will be happening. So keep an eye out. It is at 4 p.m. Pacific on Friday, February 2nd.
Awesome.
Yeah, so super excited for that. So, Dizzy Dragons, how has being involved with Pixels impacted your community?
Yeah, and I mean it's been absolutely massive. I mean interoperability was definitely something I was like just very inspired by early on. And we've been involved with Pixels. I'm pretty sure from basically the beginning, from pre like land sale days. And yeah, like I'm a pixel artist. I'm to briefly introduce myself. I'm like the founder and pixel artist of Dizzy Dragons. So when I learned about interoperability, it was really through Pixels, and there was another game that we also looked into, and that were also interoperable, and that's World Wide Web 3. And yeah, I just really kind of went head into designing all the avatars and putting the months of work that it took into it, just because I really kind of had a feeling that it would all be worthwhile, and I just really need to tip my hat to you guys to really making that venture worthwhile, because it's been really incredible, just all the opportunities that having Dizzy Dragons interoperable in the game have presented. I mean, so many amazing people have entered our community through the game, and it's just been yeah, it's been amazing. I can go on, but I don't know where I should stop with that.
Well, I actually had the pleasure of meeting Rob in person at one point, and it's always just, yeah, it was really fun. It was great to meet you. Great guy. Shout out to Rob.
Yes,
And
that was so
obviously the
dope.
Dizzy, and also I was going to say the Dizzy Dragons community specifically, but all four of these communities that we brought up here today, they're just like the most wonderful users, the most wonderful players, the most helpful. They're here just to be welcoming, have a good time, and kind of build and hang out together. And I just love that. So, yeah, didn't know. Let's talk. How has being in Pixels impacted your project, for better, for worse, interoperability, all of that stuff?
Oh, for us, I can tell it was amazing. Definitely was a great point of our journey, and great partners to have. Was what was like last year, we all we could see was news running around Pixels map, and on the market side we can see we have like at least one or two Geninho main collection PFP sales that I'm pretty sure comes from Pixel players. So that was a great exposure of what we're doing. Eric, the founder, the creator, is here. He's listening. He was super proud. It's like an awesome recognition for him and myself, that I followed also the whole growth and success of Pixels, from being a player, being an investor, and eventually through Geninho being a partner. So it was super cool. And on Geninho, that's what we are about, interoperability, right? And we want to introduce Geninho whenever and wherever we can. So we know we help also some Pixel players with the UGC, with Geninho content, some items, and we are all about that. We love collaborating like that, and we would love to do more if you guys like to, and we are down. We'd love to. We love this partnership.
Oh my gosh, amazing. And yeah, speaking to the UGC side, I just have to say, you three specifically that have just spoken have some of the most insane UGC in the game. So, like, amazing. Our UGC is really out of service, but hopefully it'll be back up soon so we can, yeah, keep seeing all this fun art. Um, and yeah, I think that's what's really cool is, and why I specifically wanted to bring up youth, these community leaders and builders and projects, is that, most of you have been around. It's almost the start of Pixels, and it's very interesting to see how we've grown together. Interoperability is amazing for a user that already has one thing and maybe wants utility in another, but we can't mistake that. Like, it's marketing, right? It's successful organic marketing, and that's also the beauty of player acquisition in Web3, right? Like, we talk about gelling our communities together and interoperability and all of these sorts of things, but at its core, it's an organic marketing campaign, and it's honestly amazing. I love it. It's one of my favorite components of Web3, and I know Luke and I but yeah, it's been very, very interesting because sometimes, we onboard a PFP collection and they provide us a ton of marketing and it's like great for us. And then sometimes we onboard one and our users go to them. So it's like this back and forth flow of users within Web3. So on to the next project. So this one, obviously special. Rag Poet from Farmhands. Rag Poet is a community team member / does so many things. I can't eat. Someone asked me for like his job description the other day, and I was like, I don't know. It's everything. He does everything. So he's actually a Pixels team member, but he started Farmhands as kind of like a side project, but for all of the most like wholesome reasons. So Rag Poet, what's up? Tell us your kind of story.
So I found Pixels very early on, 2021, along with another project that integrates collections. I was a big fan of Glizzy Gang avatars in that project, and my goal was to get Glizzy Gang avatars in Pixels and that other project. And I have to say, I accomplished that and was really proud of that. And that's really clued me in on the benefit of interoperability between these projects, which led me to explore the option of creating Farmhands, a farming themed on brand for Pixels. I think the Farmhands community holders are sort of unique amongst this group, is that I've basically leached holders from other projects and Pixels itself to create the community. All the other communities here have brought their holders into Pixels, and I have sort of carved out a group of players that are true Pixels players for my community. And so it's a sort of a special group. They're real players, they're real people. They enjoy the game, and it's just a nice, cool vibe. Really happy to be here and doing what I'm doing.
I love that. And yeah, speaking back to Glizzy Gang, if you guys don't know, hot dogs. And probably the avatar that I'm most well known for is my rainbow hot dog, Glizzy. So yeah, we love the hot dogs. It's just, I have to say, it's so fun telling like a random person that has no idea about anything Web3. I'm like, yeah, I walk around in a farming metaverse as a rainbow hot dog, like fantastic. Love it. Anyways, okay. And once again, last but certainly not least, Hen Tao from Moku. So I wanted to bring you here. You're kind of different, right? It's not like you have an NFT PFP collection that has integrated their communities with Pixels, but you're part of the Ronin ecosystem and have been a huge component in building out that community and, coming into ours as well. So I'd actually love to hear kind of almost anything you want to share with us about your experience building network and when you came or Pixels partnered, like what that all looked like and your experiences through that.
Yeah, so I didn't know about Pixels until they came to Ronin, and Gentaro, who's the ecosystem person there, was like, hey, Pixels is finally migrating to Ronin. We need you guys to welcome them and make this bang. And I was like, awesome. And so we designed this, like all the quests and like everything for their go to market on Ronin. And then when I finally played the game, I was like, wait, holy shit, this is actually a really good game. And so I bought land and then I started playing it. And I think like building Ronin, like we started in Ronin when like 2021 or something. I think it was like when guilds were still a thing and popular and scholars are still popular. And we've been through like a guild, a data platform, and now we're like here. And through all this time, it was like we never really had a place where we can aggregate our community and be able to run events and do something cool together. And when I started playing Pixels, I visited other people's lands. I was like, holy shit, I need to get a land because this is where we can actually integrate RP and like have everybody here.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Amazing. Okay. So, sorry, I honestly have just had too much caffeine today. I'm like so hyped on this space. So if I'm all over the place, you know why. Let's move forward. The name of this space is Community Building Secrets. So let's dive in. Let's dive deep. Some secrets, hacks. I wanted to host this space and not be the person interviewed because I talk about these things all the time, right? Like I am CMO, I'm head of community, I'm culture, whatever, all of these different things, right? So I feel like I get asked these questions all the time, and I really wanted to flip the stage and ask some of our major community builders what has worked for you, what hasn't worked for you. So maybe let's get Subway Rats up here and just tell us about like maybe what's like one thing that has worked really well for you. It can be super specific. It can be broad. Like just get spill the tea.
Yeah, for sure. I think one thing that has set us apart is not doing anything in our project just because it's what other projects are doing. So be like really conscious about the decisions you take and make sure that they actually add real value to your community before you decide to spend a bunch of time working on them, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's
don't just the tip is don't just do something because it's what other projects are doing. Really think about every change you make to your project and everything you spend your time on.
totally. Yeah, that's a good one. And I think that's like a really major component of building in public and in Web3 specifically, because Web3 moves at the speed of light. Like that quick, out, right? So
Yeah, for sure.
when you're building at this speed, every second matters. Like every move you take matters. But at the same time, like we're going to make mistakes, we're going to learn, we're going to iterate, right? So I like that answer. It's true. Like make sure your community is on board with what you're building as well. Otherwise, yeah, it could just be a complete waste of time.
And I think if we had attempted everything that we saw other projects doing, we'd just be like spread too thin. And one reason why it's hard to get into a lot of Web3 communities, I find personally, is they're just like super complicated. They have a lot of aspects to them, and it takes a long time to learn. So
Mm-hmm.
I think if you can be laser focused on a few core things, it's a lot more attractive to new people.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I remember downloading MetaMask for the first time. What a terrifying experience that was. Henta, what's up?
I wanted to give my take and put my hand up so Heidi wouldn't bully me again for going last. But the coolest thing that I think that I've done personally is just talking to everybody in the community one on one and making sure that their time is also valued. And I think that Heidi and Luke does it really well as well. It's like when you message them, they'll usually respond pretty fast. And that's like really hard to find in a team. One of the hardest things, though, I would say is definitely managing everybody's expectations. Because when we're running the Actually Creator program, it's like that's a community in itself. And understanding everybody's expectations and also being able to really help them out in a specific and unique way that's personal to them is definitely very challenging.
Yeah. It, I almost want to just dive into my personal experiences of, as we've grown, yeah, we've got a lot more people asking questions and all of those sorts of things. So it's like it's a really fine balance of um, kind of like sifting through the noise and like making sure that you're focusing and prioritizing on what matters and like what's going to contribute to the success of your project and your community and your culture and all of those sorts of things. Okay. Dizzy Dragons, you guys have such a strong community like mentality. Like people like die for Dizzy Dragons. So tell me about that. Like, how did you create that?
Oh man, that's so cool to hear. I'll take that. Yeah, no, I mean, like the first thing that came to mind, like when thinking about it, is kind of just this, like, I don't know, like a trickle down kind of mentality that I've always had. Generally with community building and specifically with Pixels. Like personally, I never got involved with Pixels as, trying to get a profit from it or really even trying to like be the best personally. Like my goal was always to help the Dizzy Dragon community have a really great onboarding experience and just help out everybody that, I possibly could. And I think spending that time and, getting those personal connections with people and setting that foundation and like that precedent that we're not here just to one up each other. We're here for the exact opposite. We're here to help each other. So if you see a Dizzy Dragon, you kind of know, hopefully what to expect, and that's good vibes and a supportive supportive person, a supportive community. So it's really kind of like the goal, of course, with growing a community is that we want it to be as big as the sky, like millions of people. And that can't really be sustainable unless, again, there's that kind of core foundation of what do we stand for, what do we believe in, what are we here for. And with Pixel specifically, again, Dizzy Dragon's mission from the top is really just to make the onboarding experience and the game as fun and easy as possible.
And you touched on a point that I really love. When you see a Dizzy Dragon, you kind of know what to expect. That's kind of why I love integrated avatars in projects. And obviously I'm speaking for Pixel specifically, but I know other games have done this too, is that, for here on like Glizzy Gang, my hot dog, I see another Glizzy Gang, like dog. Like, yes, I know, like kind of know what to expect from that user. And we connect on a level that we wouldn't have. I would not have talked to this random user in world 25, whatever, usually, if they weren't dressed as a hot dog. And of course I do own NFTs from all of the collections that are on board here today, and it's the same mentality. Like, I love going to, sometimes we'll have like an energy event and there's suddenly just a cluster of rats in the corner. I'm like, cool, and I hop to my rat and I go stand in the corner with them, and it's a vibe, but it makes you feel like you're a part of something. I like to call it like micro communities within Pixels. Like, you're a part of like a micro community within the Pixels ecosystem, and that's so cool. And then obviously external to the Pixels ecosystem, there you guys have your own massive communities and you're doing all these great things. So yeah, it goes back to that interoperability, but like benefiting you kind of like almost on an emotional standpoint, which is really interesting, and I think something that isn't discussed enough. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Actually, yeah, just one other kind of thing that just touching also on like the UGC, and what you were kind of talking about as far as like that marketing that it gives you. And I feel like it's so, like, saying it's marketing, like it feels more dirty than it really is, because it's just a lot more natural and fun than that. But that's been a huge and, like, really immersive and interactive way that we can like engage with our community. So I don't know if you have plans on specifically talking about UGC some more throughout the conversation, so I don't want to rush to it, but I definitely don't want to understate just what an impact that has overall, and how we've been trying to maximize it as much as we can.
I would love to talk about in a minute. That's interesting take. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Okay, I was gonna say didn't know, but it's like didn't yo. Oh, I already messed it up. I don't remember.
You almost got it. You almost got it.
I know a little Spanish, so I'm like, it's kind of similar to Portuguese. Anyways, I'll figure it out one day. So you have like a full-on game. I know, Rats does too and whatnot, but I remember hopping on and playing one of your games once, and it was really fun, running around as my little didn't know and whatnot. I kind of forgot my question here, if I'm being honest, because I was just reminiscing. Um, what, yeah, I guess I'm actually kind of specifically interested to know, like, we already talked about this a little bit, but like the true impact of gelling our communities together, because I think that you specifically, like, you have this whole other kind of like metaverse you're building out, right? And so like I feel like your community specifically likes to jump between the metaverses a lot. And so how have you seen that kind of like, oh, I don't know how to word this properly. What's your like interpretation on that like interoperability, but like I guess what I'm getting to, okay, I'm sorry, I'm totally rambling here, is people often ask us, like, what do you think about this project? Like, they're like gonna steal your users, they're gonna do whatnot. And to me, it's like, absolutely not. The more the merrier in Web3. The more Web3 gamers there are, the better. If another player prefers a different kind of gameplay, good for them. I'm so happy that they found it and that they're in Web3 with us, bettering the entire ecosystem. So that's kind of like how I see it. No one's a competitor. We're all in this together. And that's kind of almost what Dizzy Dragons was talking about too. So like, what's your perspective on this like competitive nature that's like put on us as projects?
No, I feel like I totally agree with you on this side. It's like one individual has less chance to survive than a whole ecosystem, right? So that's what we all together here today, in my opinion, we form a social gaming ecosystem, and that does give us strength to get our share on the bigger market and on the mind of the players, because in some way we are all trying to onboard Web2 players, new players to into Web3 gaming. So I think this all help, and the interoperability and the way we treat our communities, because that's another point that I was going to talk about, the last subject. It's about the you understanding your community, understanding your players, and finding other clusters of communities and players that think the same, and you join together. And in the end, the players choose, right? And I don't feel like right now it's a competition, like you said. Now, if you have a little critic to talk about this ecosystem, I would say, which it's inevitable in any market, is somebody do something, your players or your customers or whatever you want to call, they will want to look, oh, they did that, why don't you do that too? So we see that a little bit everywhere, right? So but in general it's 100% beneficial.
That's funny. That's kind of what Subway Rats was saying. If someone's doing something, it's not necessarily what you should be doing as well. Um, and yeah, like kind of sifting through, because we build in public, we're constantly listening to the feedback of our community, and we take it very seriously. But there's so much feedback that you have to sift through it and make decisions that will improve and better the success and whatnot, the outcomes of the project. And sometimes that means not doing what the community is begging for or following what another project has done. So yeah, interesting point. Reg Poet from Farmhands. So yeah, you kind of carved out a community in a very different manner than the rest. So I'm kind of curious from you, like, what has been one of the most successful community building secrets that you can share with us?
Well, I think part of it is the farmhands Discord is locked to just farmhands holders. So it's sort of a safe spot where they can come in and maybe ask some questions that they might not be comfortable asking in other locations. Obviously, they have a little more access to me in that server than, say, within the Pixels server. Um, in terms of the farmhands community, I've being initially a moderator for Pixels, and then also just becoming more within the Pixels company. I love to help people, and what I'm finding is that other people's, especially farmhands, holders, not farmhands, the Discord moderators group in Pixels and in game, they also like to help each other, and that is really good. You know, the rising tide lifts all boats, or help one another, is a great sort of mantra that the more people you help, the better off you are yourself, and that's sort of how I feel the farmhands NFT holders do. They are helping each other, they're seeing each other in game, they're sharing things. Uh, I think I know the community has made it in that I'm having holders offer other items, either UGC or mints for other projects, without asking anything in return. They're just freely giving things to spread amongst other holders, and I think that's sort of the pinnacle of a community, is you're helping others without asking anything in return.
That's so wonderful. And it just, we actually get that feedback often from often like partner projects that will come to us, and we'll do some sort of campaign with them, and that's like the first thing they say is like the Pixels community, and which includes all of, you know, you guys and the users that come from your communities as well. They're so helpful, just so helpful, and I think that that creates such a welcoming atmosphere, which is, you know, kind of what we pride ourselves on. And betters the whole, you know, Web3 ecosystem as a whole, right? If someone comes from Web2 absolutely terrified of, you know, what a wallet is and what all these things are, like there's all of these different people that are here to help them and bring them up with them and support them. So that's like the most wholesome part of our community that I just absolutely adore. And yeah, all of your projects have been huge impact in that. So thank you. So let's move on to some challenges. I know we've touched on it a bit, but I want to hear like some specific stuff. Maybe Hantal would be really interesting to hear from you. Like, what's the community building like challenge that you've faced and you've seen, and maybe either overcome or not?
Ooh, I think the hardest thing is maintaining people's attention because there's so much going on all the time in Web3. And like when I really love a community and then it's like, oh wait, this community is cool too, and this community is cool too. And then I have like 10 communities that I have to like check in every day. Even in like the gaming creators, they have like 20 cabal chats that Kermit keeps making every day, and I don't know which one to check.
That's so funny. You know, people constantly ask me like, "Oh, do you know about this project? Have you heard about this project? You see what this project's doing?" And I'm like, no, I don't have the time. I wish I did. I wish could be more a part of it. But yeah, like Pixels is just so, it's like booming. Like I got to be fully in here and fully engaged. So I hear you on that. It's like limited time, and there's so many cool things out there, especially in Web3. It's like all this breakthrough technology and all of these just incredible like international things that are happening. It's hard to be on top of it all. Okay, so then Subway Rats, let's hear from you too. Like, what's like a challenge you guys have faced, maybe overcome or not?
Uh, early days in our project when we had our whitelist mint, so it was like a free mint, and you had to get on the whitelist to get the mint. There were a lot of like spam bots joining our Discord and just posting, malicious stuff or
Mm.
whatever. And we solved it in I think, a pretty creative way. What we could have done was just put the captcha challenge. When you join the server, you type the captcha and then you get access to the other channels. But instead of doing that, we thought, why don't we turn it into like a little gamification? So we made a little like Easter egg you have to solve on the website to get into the Discord. And then
Oh,
it turns out after doing that, a lot of people, like, that was their favorite part of the project when they join. And it's something they like talk about months later. They're like, I still remember entering the Discord. That was so cool doing that Easter egg challenge. So we turned like a minor nuisance uh, into a positive. So that was a big win for us.
I love that. And things like that are so special. Like I think it's on, is it the Ronin wallet or something where you have to like turn an Axie upright? I just love it. It's just so fun, and it makes me think about it later, you know? So that's great. Dizzy Dragons, what about you? Have there been any like times where things have just not gone as planned and you had to work through it?
Oh yeah, all the time for sure. I don't know. I would say like the first, like the main thing that comes to mind. I think Hantao alluded to just the idea that it's really difficult, keeping up with everything, and also, what Subway Rods was talking about as far as like you can't always be chasing the new flashy golden shiny object. You have to really decide and put your time and effort into, or just decide what you're going to be doing, So I'd say like within Pixels, it's been difficult, just because you guys, like, there's so much going on, and again, hats off to you guys are crushing it. So like I struggle personally on keeping up, just so I can keep the community up to date, or be as helpful as I can, because it's really embarrassing when somebody asks me for something and I'm like, I don't even know what that is. But luckily, also, I want to shout out Genpai, who's another Dizzy Dragon member, one of our community mods, and just an amazing help within the Pixels community. She's one of your guys' farm hands, and just really, really smart and helpful. So if you ever see a purple dragon with a white fedora named Genpai, she is awesome and can help you with whatever you need. And yeah, and then like outside of Pixels, there's new games coming out all the time. So like for founders, like it's really just important to do the research, and not really, it's always good, it's always important to listen to your community and see what they're enjoying, see where they're gravitating towards. But in reality, you can't listen to everything. So you kind of need to take the time, do some research, and really see if it vibes with what you're kind of already doing, if it's not that big of a stretch, rather than trying to just recalculate your entire game plan on the fly. Which again, we launched Dizzy Dragons back in August of 2021, so that was like peak bull market craziness. New things were coming out all the time, new metaverses, and my neck was just breaking, just turning with a new project launching every day, and trying to dive in and see what's going on. So that's
Yeah.
definitely been a constant struggle.
I hear you. It's kind of like what Hentao was saying. It's just like, how do you know like which way to turn, what's important, and all of that, those sorts of things. And yeah, even like within Pixels, things are changing and iterating so fast. Like you feel bad not knowing something. Imagine me. People ask me things in Discord all the time, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know. I need to figure it out. Like there's like always things happening. So I hear you on that front. Um, so let's flip it a little bit. I'm gonna actually jump to farmhands quickly. My question for you is like, how do you keep your community engaged?
So I'm trying, sustainability is something that you sort of have to work at. And so using, say, the Pixels game, with our community land, I'm keeping them engaged by bi-monthly or 2 times a month surplus raffles. I've got a system in place now that, assuming Ron and VIP stays constant, I can provide 2 3-month VIPs for here until eternity in terms of giveaways. I'm setting up other games that they can use their NFTs in. I've created Minecraft skins that are 1 for 1 for everybody's holdings that they can use. Just little benefits, keep them engaged. Um, just sort of what comes along. Just try to keep it sustainable so it's not a flash in the pan type of project. Um, so that's my take.
That's cool. So it's all about like giving back. So you're saying that you use the surplus from like farming on your land to turn that into like VIP. That's really cool. And that's like a great use case of, yeah, like a community. Someone's farming on your land and they actually benefit from it, or they could benefit from it in the long term. Yeah, that's awesome. And also just like reaching your hands further into like interoperability within Web3. It's a beautiful thing. And that's all why we're here today, right? So then, didn't know. I'm kind of curious about like, let's talk about like transparency. So like we build in public. Can you kind of talk about like your building structure with your community and like how transparent you are, and how does transparency with your community like contribute to building maybe trust and loyalty, or the opposite maybe?
Yeah, definitely. I was about to mention that too. I really love the understanding that we have with our community, because that's one of our main challenges, to keep them busy, keep them engaged, and that we I can say that we partially overcame with honesty and being transparent with them, because we are a small team, and we since we have our game live as a soft launch, because we needed to focus on and adjust some aspects of the game as the community come in and play, and we feel and we can do these adjustments, but we still focusing on building some important aspects of the technical aspects of the game. For example, a social login, that you don't need to log in the game using your MetaMask anymore, only if you want to withdraw the items and etc. So major things are occupying us right now, and and leaving us with this little gap on the engagement. But because of the honesty and transparency, I feel like our community understands that, and we can carry that very well. And but very often we do some events with partners here and there to hit things up and to have fun together, because that's what we are building the whole genuine fun world for, that shared fun experience, either playing a mini game, either talking, but to be together. So I feel like that's the main point, and the community understands, because eventually we're gonna get there.
Yeah, and I totally understand what you're saying, because like for us, we go through the same thing. Even me specifically, the internal team is building out something for like a future, um, major game play update change, whatever it may be. And then on the community front, it's like, okay, well, how do we keep them engaged? How do we keep our community moving, having fun, still choosing Pixels to be their place to hang out? That's something that I actually like to talk about and bring up often is, you know, a lot of people are playing Pixels while they're at work, okay? But I'm talking about like people are choosing to come to our platforms in their free time. Why? Why are they choosing us? And like, how can we make it beneficial for them to be here with us in those periods of time that they're, choosing to spend with us? I forget which one of you mentioned it, but it's all about like, their time matters as well. Like their time matters. We want to make sure that we're providing them with something that is worthy, right? Um, so yeah, there's just a lot that can be said there. So yeah, what makes a community happy? How do you keep them engaged? Subway Rats, do you want to talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, I can talk about that. I think there's a fine balance between keeping people engaged and like overwhelming them with too much stuff, because I bet most people in here are in at least 20 communities, 20 Discord servers, and there's no way you can keep up with all the notifications happening. So I think it's important to have a schedule and do things maybe on a weekly, bi-weekly basis. People know when to expect um, updates or events. And for us, keeping people engaged has been running streams on Twitch for our own game, and then running streams for giveaway parties on our Pixels plot, like the UGC giveaways. Those have been big for us. Those always bring in a lot of people.
Yeah, that's cool. So then, speaking of UGC, Dizzy Dragons, you mentioned earlier you wanted to speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And it definitely like ties into kind of everything we're talking about. Because I feel like that, engaging with the community and how to keep things fun is a constant struggle, and something, we're always trying to figure out how to do. And especially like I feel like in the Web3 world, there's not like a one trick solution that you can just always do. So it's really, especially with Pixels, we do weekly events every Wednesday, and we do a bunch of giveaways, and we generally touch base like, the day before, 2 days before, about what we're going to be giving away. That way we make sure it's, relevant and it's something that people want or need in the game. Like during the play to earn that just wrapped, we were giving away so much wine because everybody needed energy. So that was a big a big thing. And like we have a stream tomorrow, or we're going to be doing another Pixels event tomorrow that we call the Dizzy Fashion Show. And that's just like a fun idea that we just came up with, that basically, people that have, cool avatars, it's an opportunity to show them off. And we just come up with fun like categories, and we'll have prizes for that. So again, there's no like, rule book saying this is how to throw a Web3 event, but getting creative and kind of knowing our community a little bit, we figured that was something that that they would enjoy. And we did one a couple weeks ago, and it went really well. So we're going to be doing it again, and that's just one example. And as far as like UGCs, actually, right now, one cool thing that we're doing is we have the Dizzy Guild that we're going to be starting once guilds are up. So shout out if you haven't signed up for the Dizzy Guild waitlist, please do. But we're going to be creating a UGC that's a Dizzy Guild flag, and I had created a bunch of different colors that honestly all looked really dope. So we thought it would be more fun and cool to give the option to the community and let them vote on the color of the flag. So that's one way, again, that is a kind of a unique community engaging thing that we're able to do specifically because of Pixels and UGCs. Yeah, so that's one way. And generally, I mean, I'm a little like, I feel very lucky with it all because as I mentioned, I'm a pixel artist, so this is all just very fun. And it's more or less, it's easy for us to kind of turn around cool Dizzy UGCs because I can make them in-house. So we're really just kind of trying to think of anything cool that would work. And like, I don't know, I have the same kind of mentality as like, if they were real decorations or real kind of things that people would want to represent Dizzies, or kind of have that representation on their farm. If people can't maybe afford a Dizzy Dragon, they can definitely, afford a Dizzy Dragon plushie and still rep Dizzy Dragons on their farm. So there's just so many cool opportunities that's been presenting us.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you touched on kind of giving people an opportunity to be part of the decision, which I think is such a huge community building aspect, as well as, if people feel like heard, but also, maybe their idea turns into something that's actually ends up being part of whatever. Even if it's small, it makes them feel like they're part of something, right? It makes us feel like we're together in this. So that's really cool. Also, fashion show sounds incredible. When is that happening?
Hey, come through. We're doing it tomorrow. Let me double check the time. We put out a tweet earlier. It's going to be at 1:30 Pacific Standard Time tomorrow.
All right.
And the last one was great on the runway they've got built. It's always a lot of fun.
Hey, thank you, dude.
Yeah, Rag, you had your hand up. Is that what you wanted to say, or is there something else?
I did want to say about the runway. It was a lot of fun the first time, and I want to touch on the UGC as well. Is that is just an amazing tool for community building, where you can have holders, community members participate. They can rep, whether it's a guild flag or a collection item that's branded, that they're part of the community, whether they're using an avatar or they can put it on their spec or their land. It's just a great tool, and hope it continues and that gets corrected and put back online. I know a lot of people want it.
Yeah, I think it's yeah. You go to someone's land and you see a recognizable object, that indicates they're part of another community or a guild or whatnot. And it's like what we were talking about earlier. You see it and you're like, okay, this is the vibe. I know the vibe, or I feel welcome here because I know maybe I'm already a part of this community and I'm just meeting other people, or maybe want to be part of because I heard good things or whatnot. And I think guilds, when we release guilds, it's going to even push this community building aspect even further. So it'll be really interesting. And I'm actually very excited to see how, individual projects such as all of you guys, how that plays out and beyond. So yeah. So then I have, I guess, one last question. Whoever wants to answer it, how are you measuring like the health and the success of your community? Like, I think it's so hard to put some these things sometimes, but maybe there are some metrics you guys pull from. Any of you specifically want to answer that question? Hand out. Let's go.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, we were actually analyzing the Pixels Discord data. I think Discord is a great place internally to really aggregate your community. And when we were looking at the data, we there's obviously like some surface ones that Discord gives you, like how many messages people are sending, etc. But the way that we looked at it was like the average number of messages that people were sending throughout time. So because messages correlates directly to their activity and their engagement in the community. So if somebody sends like 10 messages a day, they're probably more engaged than somebody that sends one message a day. So I think that's one way that we're looking at measuring that.
That's cool. That is cool. And yeah, I know there was a system. It's broken now, so I can't look at it. But they were interpreting like the way that people were messaging. So it was like positive versus maybe negative messages, and it was just super interesting to see like these numbers put to something that is kind of hard to put a number to often. Yeah. So, do any of you else have any input on this? Like, how are you measuring the health and the success of your community?
I can say, just because of my role in Pixels, I can see people setting their avatars, and
Mm.
I part of putting together this panel is that, you know, Dinahos, Subway Rats, Dizzy Dragons, Farmhands, these are the avatars that are being set the most in Pixels. So that's a great measure of the health of your community. If people aren't, repping your avatar in Pixels, maybe something's going on. Um, Pixels had the largest spike in avatar setting was Corntown WTF. Huge. And it was they came in and they rushed, but you very rarely see a Corntown anymore because the community has just sort of died off. So that's sort of my take on it.
Interesting. Yeah, that was insane. It was like Terravilla became Corntown, basically for a few days there. It was really frightening because their avatars are kind of creepy, but I loved it. It was great. So yeah, I do get excited when I see them. But it's true. Yeah, I mean, these you four obviously were selected for various reasons. One being that people in Pixels love you guys, and there's a reason. So that's why I wanted to just dive in deep with all you guys today. So, what's up, Subway Rats?
I think for us, measuring success, I can tell you it's definitely not watching, if you're building for the long term, it's definitely not watching your floor price. We made that clear to our community early on that we're not going to talk about floor price. We're never going to tell anyone to sweep or anything like that. And I think that weeded out a lot of the community that was just there for a quick flip. And in the long run, it turned our community into so much healthier, more positive, and nobody's stressed about, oh, look at the floor price today, and they're just focused on sharing things with their friends, bringing new people into the community, and it's done a lot better since then.
Yeah, it's all about like intentionally building that culture and that sentiment and finding those people that are on board with you and want to build that out with you. Dizzy?
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree, and I feel like something like that's also I feel like in the similar vein is like Discord activity. Like I feel like a common thought is like if Discord isn't active 24/7, then project's dead, and that it's not the case, and it's very much I think what Subway Rats was talking about, where it's like there's I don't know when you kind of weed out the people that are only there for the when floor, then it kind of generates a more natural community, and naturally people aren't, you know, there all the time. So like I don't always think that's a great metric to use. And like I get way more excited when I see a new face come in the Discord, and you know, it doesn't matter if they're there every day after that, but the fact that they're a new face, they came into the community, like that means a lot. And I, you know, I'm confident that if they bought a Dizzy Dragon or if they joined the community, that you know they're going to like what we're doing and stick around for the long run. So it's not worth like micromanaging. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's so many different things here, and you know, one thing to talk about is like the different personas of Web3 games. There are ones that are here for the crypto aspect and to earn, and like that's great, and we'll try and satisfy them as we can in balance with satisfying every other persona. And those are the ones that are maybe they're just here for the community, or I don't know, just to hang out, or they don't want to talk to anyone and they just want to farm all day, right? There's like all these different types of personas, so it's balance of satisfying all of these personas. So yeah, with that, thank you all for coming up. Today has been really fun. I loved diving in deeper with all of you, and I hope a lot of our Pixels players, I saw them tweeting. They were so excited to hear from you all. So thank you all for all the insights and everything. Dizzy Dragons is hosting a fashion show tomorrow, which will be cool, so check that out. Subway Rats on Friday has an energy party in the Drunken Goose at 4 p.m. Pacific. Our record and our in-game calendar for your local time. And with that, see you guys tomorrow in our live stream.
Thanks, everybody.
When Pixel.
Thank you so much.
When Pixel.
Thank you, guys. Take
When
care.
Pixel. My God.
Stay dizzy,
Soon
everybody.
trademark. Soon trademark.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.